Welcome in, everyone. I'm Gerard Ramalho, and this is The Vegas Verdict, where we take a look at local and national issues of interest. We offer legal insight whenever possible, and ultimately, we hand down a verdict. And today we are looking at the issue of AI. Our legal expert, once again, Tony Abbatangelo. He's the former judge. Sometimes he goes by Tony the Tapper. Thanks for being with us again, Tony.
And glad to be here as always, Gerard.
And our special guest is Dr. Aya. You're special as well. Sorry,
but I'm not as special. She is.
Well, she's extra special. Dr. Aya Shata. She's a faculty professor at UNLV and also an AI expert. So we're so happy to have you with us here today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm happy to be here.
Before we get started on our discussion, let's go ahead and take a look at this video that kind of gives us an encapsulation of what people are talking about with respect to AI.
Sure.
Some tech industry leaders are warning of the potential risks, including deep fakes and robots replacing humans.
Some of it can be pretty scary. Fake people looking like real people, saying fake things, even in political commercials.
All these videos you're seeing right now are fully AI generated.
In between.
Ride with the mob, check you and me, and we get job. Earth is the name.
Some are saying AI is creating a racial divide, and it's helping to spread racism.
Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority, alongside other societal scale risks, such as pandemics and nuclear war.
The G7 group of leading economies, the EU, US, well, they've all been holding meetings trying to work out how to tackle the challenges.
They aren't talking about what they're doing to stop these risks from manifesting. So they are all still building this technology. They're not saying they're going to stop building it. They're building it.
So that is the issue. We're talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and specifically also taking a look at privacy and the fact that the technology allows us to manipulate images. It allows us to manipulate audio and voices. Tony, I'll start with you. What's your initial impression of this kind of AI phenomenon that is sweeping the country right now?
It's insane, I think, what's happening. As technology progresses faster and faster, we're having big problems. Tyler Perry even talked about shutting down in Atlanta a big music studio he was producing because people can just do their music on AI with videos. I mean, it is all over the place, and I think we really need to defer to the expert because you know, I get the voices and all that, but watching Elvis pump some iron, you know, that's there's a lot of things going on here.
Some people claim he's still alive, so
Elvis is
maybe he's
in the
working
house.
Out. Yes, he looks better than he used to look, right?
Oh, he started working out.
And the question that we're asking today specifically is with respect to regulation. Should there be specific, and I'll say federal regulation with respect to AI and its usage? And I know that's kind of a broad subject, but Dr. Shata, let's get your perspective on some of this. Maybe share with us what you're teaching out at UNLV.
Yeah. So I always wanted to say that when AI is now in the market, like it reminded me back when social media was introduced around like Facebook back in 2004. It had the same kind of chaos, the same concern, like it will take also some jobs away, it will change. But now social media is a concentration. There are degrees, there are agencies, there are new jobs that's being offered by the social media. So it's happening again with AI here. Like I see like history repeats itself with this new technology. But again, you always fear what you don't know. So people, they're not using AI sometimes and they don't know, oh, will it really be able to replace us? But actually, reality is that once you start to use AI, you can see what is the pros and cons of it, and you don't feel as much threatened as when you actually hear more about it, and all these news can make them even very scared of it. But they have to just, you know, be there, try it, give it a try, and it's not going to be as bad as they think.
Maybe, you know, educating the public on what to look out for and what to be aware of is part of the answer here with respect to keeping people safe. Because one story that's been in the news a lot is the fact that they can use voice manipulation in kidnappings and to hold people ransom and try to get ransom money from grandmothers and people who might not be as savvy about the technology. What are your thoughts,
and that's where that kind of scam has been going on without AI. Years ago, I remember somebody calling me, my son's been kidnapped or arrested in Europe. I'm like, well, first thought was scam. Second thought, because I'm a defense lawyer, so that's just my prejudice, I guess. And yeah, exactly. My second thought was, where's your kid? Do you know where your kid is? Like, it was grown up, or you know. I'm like, is he traveling around the world? I mean, what's going on here? Have some common sense. Another lady I know years ago, she had taken some diet drugs to lose weight, you know, and it came from Canada. Somebody called her up and said, it's Canadian law enforcement, FBI or whatever, and send us money. I'm like, stop. You don't just send the cops money. You know, you do that in Mexico when you get pulled over and you're staying out of trouble. You know,
we're all getting scammed in some way or another every day now on their phone or wherever. I mean, someone's trying to
Shirley texted
swindle
me and my wife two separate, like on Saturday and Friday, because she said to me, my wife said, who's Shirley? Who's this Shirley person? I go, I don't know. And then they texted me the next day. I just went, block. You know, I mean, you've got to pay attention to the scams. Now, what's crazy, though, is the way this technology can portray my image talking to you, saying, hey, it's Tony, give me $20, or can you Venmo me some money? I mean, you don't have to do a big scam to make a lot of money. You just do a lot of it. I remember years ago, this was in the 90s, there was an ear infection ad in like National Enquirer. And basically it was like lemon juice and water, and you send $5 in, but you didn't know what it was to get rid of an ear infection. You do $1,005, it starts adding up.
Yeah, some people are going to go for it.
I think that's where maybe, I don't know how, this is your area, doctor, I don't know how you get people to know that it's not me, it's an AI.
So I really go.
What are some of the challenges that you're seeing and the questions that you're getting faced with in your classes?
So I think the number question that I always face is about like AI replacing us. That's like always the number one question, not just in my classes, like, but anywhere, and in all the discussions, the workshops that I have, it's always that question. But I always say that AI is not going to replace us, but someone else who know how to use AI and how to integrate them in your work, they will replace you. Because AI is just a tool. It's like Photoshop. Like when Photoshop was there, anyone can do like, you know, identity theft. Anyone can make with the editing software, you can edit like voice and facials. We had that before. Like AI is just another tool, but misusing that tool or overusing that tool, that's the real concern for them. But also back to the example of the social media. When social media was there, everyone was worried that also it's going to change how we do jobs, especially in the field of media and journalism. But it also offered new jobs. And the same for AI. Yes, it might replace few jobs, but it's going to change how we do our jobs, and it will also offer new jobs.
Yeah. And my position on that is that you can't, no job is forever, right?
Yeah.
If you built typewriters back in the day, that doesn't mean that they're selling great now. You know,
you telling me do I got to get rid of my Betamax?
Yeah.
We were beta. We didn't go VHS. We would.
You might want to move on because there are some new
A-Track's gone too, is what you're telling me?
It's changing. It's adapting, right?
Right.
Now we have the live
that's what
streaming.
I tell my kids, they're 19 to 26, that I grew up and watched an industry come and go, renting videos at Blockbuster or something like that. Things change. You have to adapt. But what about making sure that we all know back to saying that it's the real Tony and not the fake Tony? Do you know anything about, any thoughts on that?
How to identify between real?
Yeah.
It's easy. If I know someone, I can easily know who is that person by talking it a little bit more. And this is the key going back to when you try AI. When you try AI, you can actually spot all the communication. You can tell this is written by AI.
I guess.
But it gets, you need to try this by experience. By time, you'll be able to spot like, okay, this is written by AI. Oh, this is AI driven. But when you don't use AI, how will you know?
Right. That's
one of the real concerns out there, as was mentioned in our little video, is impersonating political figures, and the fact that and there's already ads out there with Trump's voice on them and things like that. But could it be so good, the technology, that perhaps you could fool some significant people or put us in a real harmful situation?
Yes, absolutely. It can do that. And that's why we need to go back again to validate the sources. Even when I use AI and it gives me certain information, there's a lot of, like, the biggest concern about AI is credibility and trustworthy. Can we trust the information that comes out of it? And that's why sometimes I ask it, like, give me the sources of this information. And then I check those sources. And also take, like, if there's any hyperlink, check, like, the landing page. Is it like .gov.edu? Is it something that you can trust or not? So again, it's really up to using our own common sense, and I always believe in empowering, like, the audience, the students, and everyone to use their own common sense to judge if this is, like, gonna be, like, true and accurate and reliable or not.
Well, I think it ties into what you mentioned earlier about social media. A lot of it's out there is true, and a lot of it's nonsense.
Exactly.
Just like the 2016 election, just use a big, easy example. The 2020 election, there's, I think they call them trolls, you know, and people just putting out all this false information.
Yep. Misinformation has been there since social media. It's just going to
continue. If your
continue.
only source is TikTok, that's probably a good red flag, right?
Yes.
That, you can't source the information.
Well, that's where I'm in trouble because I don't do TikTok. So
well,
people
maybe
post
you're
stuff on
safe,
it.
actually.
Yeah, you know, like you said, I got my typewriter. I'm happy.
Doctor, you brought up another good point that I want to refer to with respect to the industry and the jobs that it presents. I know when I was doing news, there was always a concern that, robots are going to take over as deliverers of information, and that's true. I mean, there's already newscasts, from what I understand, that are delivered by AI-generated newscasters. But at the end of the day, someone is programming the information, and someone is still delivering the actual news, right? So the jobs in and of themselves, there's still going to be some jobs there.
Yes, absolutely. There's going to be new jobs. It's just changing how we do our jobs. Like, even in my classes, the first thing that I did is that I talked to professionals and practitioners who are in the market, because it's my job as an educator to qualify the students for the job market, right? So when I talked to them and I saw how they actually using AI and how they're integrating it, I started to ask my students to use it and critique it together to know this is good, this is we can use, this we can't use. These kind of discussion can help them to know how to use, like, AI more ethically, professionally. But also, I insist that in all my classes that it's a starting point.
Yeah.
It's never the end point. So, for example, if I'm building a campaign, if I'm building a communication message, yes, I can help it to give me a little bit more information, to brainstorm a little bit for more ideas, but it is never the final message. I have to bring my own insights, my ideas, my strategic communication planning into it when I actually develop the message.
I mean, full disclosure, I use ChatGPT a lot.
Yeah.
I use it to leverage my thought, my ideas.
Exactly.
I see another version, and then I go back and I'll rewrite a different version that is more, in my
It's
own
like
words.
challenging your ideas, make you think different. It opens new horizons or new approaches about how you tackle a certain message or a certain issue. But it's not the full thing. Like, you cannot rely on it to write like a full press release or to do anything like that. There will still be like lacking strength because, again, in my field, it's all about communication, and to build that connections and relationship, you need to have a human to build that connection.
Right.
We can tell when a message is dry and it's not useful.
Personalized.
Exactly.
The GPT program, or however you say it correctly, there's a law one too for writing motions and demands for personal injury cases. So it's only as strong as you make it. And that also goes just for the individual. I put out a demand letter on a personal injury case, and I'm doing it half-ass. The other side sees it. But like you said, Gerard, you're having AI assist you, then you're editing it, you're updating it, you're personalizing it, and that's what makes a difference.
And laws vary from state to state and jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So obviously you can't just let the machine take over. You have to offer your own expertise in order to have it be effective.
And I would presume the same thing in journalism and writing an article.
100%. We're going to take a short break here, and we'll be back with more of the Vegas verdict coming up right after this.
If you've been injured in an accident, you don't have to go it alone. At Paul Paddle Law, we understand your injuries aren't just physical. They also bring financial burden and emotional strain. At our firm, it's not just about legal representation. It's about genuine care and commitment. Lock in the attention you deserve from your attorney. We'll get you on the path to recovery. Call Paul Patta Law. Legal security when you need it.
Welcome back, everyone. You've been watching The Vegas Verdict. Today we're talking about AI and all of the intricacies involved with this new technology. I want to get into a little bit about the privacy issues here. That's one of the concerns with AI, stealing identity, stealing someone else's material, stealing someone else's work. And, you know, how do we regulate and how do we go about making sure that the public interest is protected here? Dr. Shata, we'll start with you.
So I can give like few advice or recommendation that can be done by simple people. Once, we have to be careful what kind of information we put in, because the way AI works is that it actually feeds what is being consumed. So that's why it's called GPT. It's like generative pre-trained transformer. Pre-trained is like it trains on what you actually feeds that. So you have to be careful what you put in. So for example, if you have like client information, be careful, don't put their names on it. If you have like consumer or health, like be careful about their own privacy. So anything, it's the same also back to social media. Don't share a lot about yourself and a lot of your identity and like sensitive information.
So you're telling me when a guy from Nigeria calls me, I should not give him my social security number? Shouldn't do that? Is that what you're saying?
Same concept, basically.
Or address.
Right?
Yeah, right, one of those things.
Exactly. So so all of this, checking the privacy settings, also good. Sometimes they having these program in which like it allows like AI training. You can actually like turn that off. So there's a lot of settings in which we have control that we just need to learn about them more.
And we've always heard, I mean, from the beginning of time, don't always believe everything you see or don't always believe everything you hear.
Yes.
Now we're faced with technology challenges that make that an even tougher question, tougher task, but the same principle applies. We have to be cautious about where we get our information and what we hear and see.
Always. Always.
The question that we asked today with respect to our verdict, and we're going to have to issue a verdict before this podcast is over, is should the federal government be regulating AI in a specific manner, or how should the federal government regulate AI? Tony, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I know it's so broad.
Well, and this is where this is not my area of expertise. I'd like to hear what the doctor has to say, because there needs to be some control and regulation. And you said you at UNLV, you're helping create and implement policy. And kind of the problem is, I'm not a big fan of government getting involved in everything.
Right.
But on the other side, there's always those people that abuse it, whatever the topic is. And that's where, like, you're at a micro level compared to the macro level, because you're helping UNLV.
And our current laws enough? Are the current laws enough? I mean, we have privacy laws. We have, stalker types of laws that protect people's safety and individualism. I mean, are those laws enough to protect us in AI circumstances?
I don't know about the laws, like the judge can answer the laws for me, but I will explain, like, when we try to build a policy, the first thing we do is that we first know the tool very well and also know who's the relevant stakeholders. So for example, an AI education kind of policy, we need to understand like the educators, like what's their intake on it. We need to understand the community professionals who later on is going to work with our students, and also our students' intake on it. So we listen to all of this, we create discussions, we see and learn from what worked, what did not work, how did we integrate that, and from all of this then we can able to build a policy. And the same I think should apply for like when you do like federal. We should give people like the chance to actually speak up, to represent, to have a voice in what they actually say, and it should not be falling under the entity of one. There's also like government, there's also international organization, there's also unions should be like considered. A lot of considerations, so that especially that AI varies from one discipline to another. So how it's going to affect media and journalism is not going to say how it affect law, it's not going to say affect computer science or medical or health. It varies greatly. So having just one law that applies to everyone can be limiting in some sort.
And that's what I was going to say to you. It seems like from you educating me is that, like you just said, what might work in regulating the law in the law profession is not going to work for what teachers are doing.
Exactly.
So, I mean, so now you're going to break it down to 100 different professions? And
so, okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate. Then what should be done? And are we behind the eight ball at all? I mean, are we lagging in terms of what we should be doing.
Of course, we should continue to have law on how to regulate this, but take into consideration not to be restrictive enough, and take into consideration how each field is different. Also, enterprises or organizations or universities, they need to have their own policies that's a good fit for them and their own students. So what I build in my college might not fit also another college, but that does not mean that the whole university can have a certain policy for the students as well. So no, we should not stop our own regulation, but just take all of this into consideration when we regulate. And we need to, AI is so fast. I always give the example, Facebook was adopted, we reached 100 million users in 4 years. Do you know how much we reached with ChatGPT, 100 million users, how long it took? Any guesses?
No idea.
No idea. Yeah.
I didn't
2
hear
months.
Wow.
2 months.
Wow.
So it is going, so that's why
Yeah.
we need to learn also, even if you try to regulate AI now, after a year, it's going to change.
And the other issue too is even if we have,
crazy.
that's fascinating actually. Even if we have some kind of national or federal regulation, then there's still the international. Internet and all of these. It's worldwide. It's not just U.S. So there's a lot to take into consideration. We're not going to be able to regulate, China or African nations or any other nation that doesn't want to go along with U.S. laws. So I think that has to be a part of the discussion as well. Going back to my point about are we lagging in terms of educating the public about AI? Are we behind the 8 ball? Is the technology outpacing us? I'm assuming yes.
Is the technology outpacing for AI? It's a little going super fast. Even by the time I started a research, it was AI was not very popular. By the time I finished the research, it was fully adopted by a lot of people. So it is going super fast for AI specifically, and this is what makes it more interesting. It's changing how we say viral now. What used to be viral on social media is now even more viral on AI. But I think we should still continue having such discussions. Really, really help. Just trying to ignore AI or not accept AI is not the right way to do it. But it's get to know it. Even if you think AI is the enemy, okay, well, get to know your enemy, right?
Yeah.
So, but AI is not. AI is just a tool like Photoshop, like social media, like whatever you can use. It can really help your business grow. It can help you in doing your job. So again, it is just a tool. It's an assistant for you, basically.
It's a great idea network also. I find myself now, once I downloaded the phone app, it used to be I would go to Google or I'd just put it in the the space bar of a search engine. But now I'm checking ChatGPT. Hey, what are some other options for such and such? And it literally spits out as specific as you want. It's really pretty incredible. The fact that we're living in this day and age is pretty awesome.
And on a small level, one of my friends did something with AI, and he said, here's a poem I had AI write, and all he typed in was, I don't remember specifically, but something like Deer Lake and Blue Skies. And here it comes.
Right.
It's interesting, and the big picture is you got to stay with it because it's not going anywhere.
Right.
No, it's not going to disappear. And you said 100 million people using it?
Yeah, more than that now.
But
That's
in a couple months?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, my friend, he's in his 60s, and he just was trying it, and just something like that, and he had a little poem, and boom.
Yep.
Oh, and my son, when he was in college, was doing marketing, and he was doing ads for a local bar where he was DJing, and he put sunset music notes, and poof, he had 10 things to choose from.
Yeah.
It's like that.
What's going to come down to ultimately is still targeted audience, connection, personalization. Those are the kinds of things that people are still going to demand.
Yes.
You can't just spit out a generic, poem. It's got to be something that is special for the listener or the receiver.
The reason it has a good point because it has the ability to read thousands of poems out there. So that's why it's very easy for us to generate. But we will gonna reach a level of sameness if we don't use our own original ideas, right? Because if it's regenerating the same stuff, there's no creativity coming on. But humans by nature are creative creatures. So we have to use and not forget that this is our main strength over AI. One is that AI can never replace human intelligence and creativity that we have. Also, emotional intelligence. Like I can go there and lecture and I can tell from the eyes of the students, I think you have a question. My students tell me, how do you know? It's like, I know.
Or even on the flip side, they're falling asleep. I better change what I'm saying because nobody's paying attention. I mean, that's the human nature.
Yes. And also an understanding of culture. So when I develop a campaign for an international audience, I have to take into consideration culture. AI does not understand culture. So again, all of these are factors that's why people should not be worried. AI is not going to replace you, but it's going to definitely change how you do your work. It's going to challenge you on that.
I do think that technology is going to get better and better. If you go to the sphere right now, for example, they've got these robots in the lobby, and they're AI robots, and you can interact with them. And if you tell a joke, the robot will laugh.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so they're getting closer to.
So you might need that for your audience.
Well, I definitely need that's the only audience I can get to laugh at these days. But but in terms of being able to express emotives and that sort of thing, I think that's coming along. I mean, these robots blink and they smile, and it's actually a little creepy. It's not perfect, you can tell, obviously, but the fact that they have that kind of response, I think the technology is only going to get better. It's all down to algorithms, right? I mean, they're just going to make these algorithms more specific and more defined until we reach that right response. Is my guess.
And I think you said it best, Doctor, which is pay attention to what's going on in the person you're communicating with. Another easy example is a friend of mine who's a criminal defense attorney, got a call from his son, got arrested for a DUI, and he was totally shocked and surprised. And then a couple more sentences later, he goes, this is nonsense. This is not true. And he hung up, and then he called his son. He's like, are you okay? He goes, yeah. He goes, okay, good. So whether it's a voice, scamming, and he's kind of sounding like his son, where they steal our voices, or it's texting, it's you got to pay attention.
We have to validate the sources always.
Yeah.
All
right, so we'll be back with more of the Vegas verdict coming up right after this.
Legal troubles require swift action, and there's only one attorney who's quick on his feet.
Legal troubles don't wait, and neither should you. I'm Tony Abbatangelo, a former judge with 30 years' experience. I know the judicial system, and I know what will work for you in court.
When your circumstance requires a skilled negotiator who knows the law, tap into Tony. He's a former judge who can defend your rights. Call 707-7000.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching The Vegas Verdict, and today we've been discussing AI and whether or not it should be regulated. There's a lot of concern that AI robots are going to take over and people's privacy and information is going to be abducted in one way or another. We have our guest with us today, Dr. Aya Shata from UNLV, faculty member, and she's been so insightful. And of course, Tony Abbatangelo. So we're ready for our verdict today. Again, the question was, should the federal government offer some type of specific regulation or hand down some type of specific regulation with respect to AI? And the verdict is no. And we should stipulate this is an interesting discussion because we can agree that there are some problems. There's always going to be some nefarious element that's going to try to use that tool in an inappropriate way. But in terms of regulating technology, almost impossible to do that, especially when you consider that there's a whole world out there and, other countries have different codes and ethics. And we were discussing also off camera that what might need to take place is just like we have in legal circles or in medical circles or in journalistic circles, we have codes of ethics and we have codes that a good journalist or a good doctor will adhere by. So What are your thoughts on that? Ladies first, Doctor.
Absolutely. Like having ethical practices is always good. It's always important. Like I take responsibility whenever I try to build like a campaign or convey some certain news that I have to verify and make sure that it is accurate. Like I do my own role. Even as an educator, I feel like I need to show students like how to use AI, but how to use AI more responsibly, how to use AI more ethically. Because in the end of the day, it is their own credibility of their work itself. So I believe like ethical practice should be a big part, especially that the use of AI varies from one discipline to another. So it would be ideal to have like what would be the best practices, what would be the more ethical practices for AI in your area.
Yeah. Judge, what say you?
Well, it's a very wide open and new field. And my personal opinion is I don't want to stifle creativity. I also don't like overreach of government. But on the flip side, things that we're talking about, you can't just let people run wild with it. And to a certain degree, there are already existing crimes on the books. So if somebody imitates me, as we were talking about earlier, and you send me money, and it's really not me, because I got a special Venmo, Cash App, whatever account, that's still, fraudulent obtaining money from another. And there are laws on the books for that. So I think there are things to keep people in check that are unethical.
Yeah. I think what it's going to amount to is more education as we grow further into this technology era that we're in. And we need professors like yourself to make sure that ethics are a part of the discussion and policy, where appropriate, is also a part of the discussion, so that we stay on track and we use those tools to benefit society, not harm it.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. Well, thank you both for today, and thank you for watching. You've been watching The Vegas Verdict, and if you have some thoughts or questions about this episode, or maybe have an idea about an upcoming episode that would make a great subject, please visit our website, vegasverdict.com. We'll have a blog section there, and we will have all our previous shows listed there as well. Thanks for watching. This has been The Vegas Verdict. Caught on camera. Multiple cameras, in fact. A fight on campus, only this time it's a student versus a teacher? Witnesses say the student provoked the scuffle, calling the teacher the N-word, even throwing the first punch. It didn't end well for either the student on the ground and the teacher, who it turns out was a substitute, arrested, charged with battery, and no longer employed with the district. Opinions on this one mixed, with some saying the teacher was definitely in the wrong. Others argue that student had it coming. In legal trouble, wrongly accused, facing a charge like battery, harassment, stalking, and more, you have rights. Call the Vegas lawyers. And that's your dose of this week's Vegas Viral. Remember to look for us on your favorite podcast platforms and stay connected on our website, vegasverdict.com.